You useless shit. My daughter ought to get a divorce from you. My dad-in-law because I work from home. Tom treats me like I don't have a job. He has consistently acted aggressively against my wife, Ava, and me. This was his final opportunity to turn around. That was my objective when I reached out to him. I finally just said, I understand. You slowpoke, so if you get it, start acting on it. This appears to be your response. He ignored Tom's ongoing ranting and remarked, That's very disappointing. I ended the call. Tom contacted my cell phone several times the following day. It appears that the main family residence called him on this issue, which suggests that he was in a desperate situation. However, it was too late. His constant bothersome calls have been blocked by me. I'm a systems engineer at X's Systems, a significant IT company, and I'm 40 years old. My name is Henry. Our business specializes on creating IC solutions for educational settings, web teaching resources, and keyboard input software. You probably use X's Systems goods on a regular basis, even if you aren't familiar with the brand. X's Systems, which generated over $4.5 billion in sales during the previous fiscal year, is a cornerstone of social infrastructure. In addition to being a web producer, I began my career creating input software. At the moment, I work in the education support department developing educational systems. Our organization is putting a lot of effort into this field. Being acknowledged for my ability is truly satisfying. Even though the work atmosphere may be difficult at times and requires day and night effort. Since I got married and had a family 2 years ago, I've been especially passionate about my work lately. This year, my wife, Ava, turns 29. Her family has a distinguished history, owns multiple businesses, and is a powerful force in and of itself. I work for X's Systems, which is a part of the Hadley Group. Through an arranged marriage, I got to meet Ava, who is a lot younger than me. Kay Hadley, Ava's grandma, arranged our encounter after observing my commitment to my job. When we got married, I adopted Ava's family name, which is customary in well-known families, but I don't regret it. Ava is a beautiful woman, and I am thankful to have met her. But there's one thing that irritates me. Ava's relationship with her father, Tom, has never been good. Tom has had good control over Ava. It seems that Tom's refusal to allow Ava to deviate from her assigned duty has prevented her from pursuing her dream of a career in education since she was a little child. I've lived with Tom since our marriage, so I've seen directly how much power he has over Ava. Ava, a unique example of a refined and peaceful woman, seemed incapable of resisting her father. Kay took matters into her own hands since she was worried about her granddaughter's circumstances, which allowed us to get married. She attended the scheduled meeting as well. Tom has the worst opinion of me, possibly as a result of these circumstances. I'm almost a criminal to him because I took Ava away. I try to minimize conflict because I feel like he would follow us even if we moved away. I'm all right. More than everything, I want to release Ava from Tom's grasp, yet I can put up with irrational treatment. I was trying, but nothing was getting better. There was a movement started by the change in my workplace. I briefly switched to working mostly from home at X's Systems due to departmental reorganization and the construction of new buildings. I would have to confront this more directly than before. Henry, is this the demo screen for the new system? Ava asked. Yes, it's still in development, so we can't go public with it yet, I replied. While I was working in my study today, Ava brought me some tea for a break. Peering into the PC screen, she nodded to herself. I see you're controlling the eye movement to make it easier to move to the next screen. It seems like it would be easy for children to understand. Ava's comments were spot on. As a direct descendant of a prestigious family that has produced numerous business people, Ava is very talented. Being able to grasp the key points just by looking at the screen, she would definitely give clear and understandable lessons if she were teaching. It's truly a waste that she's bound by her parents and not allowed to work. Just as I was thinking this, the study door was abruptly flung open. Ava, how long are you going to dot on that man? Come out right now. Tom shouted. Father, I was just bringing Henry some tea. That man doesn't need your tea. Tom, with veins bulging at his temples, shouted angrily. He is Z's father and my father-in-law. He's currently 58 years old. He seems to be an executive at a subsidiary of the Hadley family's business. But although he's called an executive, he's always either off on so-called business trips that seem more like hospitality vacations or indulging in golf. I hate to say it, but it's a situation where calling him a salary thief wouldn't be out of line. Apparently, he used to be competent at his job, but it seems he's become numb to the prestige of the family name over time. I thought Ava shouldn't be yelled at anymore, so I assured her out of the room. Then Tom looked at me with disdain. Thinking you were something, using a computer as if you're a professional, even though you've been fired. Tom, as I've said before, this is remote work and I have not been fired from my company. Tom adamantly refuses to let me call him Dad. Likewise, he has never once called me by my name. Don't lie, you thief. I know the truth. You're always at home during the day, and then you sneak out at night. If that's not proof of being unemployed, what is? I work from my home office during the day. The reason I went out at night was due to a sudden call for support from my workplace. Although I admit that having no distinction between day and night is a problem, Tom is way too lacking in understanding remote work. It seems he views me as scum, pretending not to be fired, even though he was being so disliked due to prejudice. It makes it hard to know how to respond. You jobless good-for-nothing. You should just leave this house and Ava behind. Muttering to himself, Tom left the study. I leaned back in my chair and let out a deep sigh. A few days later, as usual, I was working from home and went down to the living room for a break. There, unusually, I came upon Ava and Tom arguing. Ava, wake up for once. He's no good. Father, you're always saying terrible things about Henry. He's not like that at all. Though her voice was soft, Ava clearly argued back. Tom seemed frustrated that Ava, who had always been obedient, wasn't listening to him lately. I stepped between them, of course, to stand up for Ava. Tom, please calm down. Stop raising your voice at Ava. You, Ava, thank you for speaking up for me, she said. It's okay. Here, go down and take a moment to relax. Ava seemed to have something to say, but I escorted her out of the living room. I then faced Tom. He was gritting his teeth, glaring at me fiercely. Ava's changed attitude is because you've been whispering in her ear, isn't it? I'll never forgive you. That's not true. It's because you, Tom, continue to overly control Ava. It's time you realize that. In my desire to protect Ava, my words grew heated. Trembling with anger, Tom suddenly pushed me. You think I'm the one restraining Ava? Ridiculous. There's no one in this world who understands Ava better than I do. It's that very attitude that's restraining her. I replied, fine. If you insist on saying that, I have my own plan. With that, Tom stormed out of the living room. I was somewhat taken aback, expecting more insults than that, but there was no way he would just back down quietly. The next day, it was a normal working day. I had planned a meeting with clients about the educational system we introduced last month. Meeting in person builds a different kind of trust than online meetings. Although online is convenient, some educators are not familiar with digital devices or systems and may feel resistant. Explaining the product usage and benefits carefully is also an important part of our job. I believe that these efforts lead to finding new clients. By the time the hearing was over, it was already evening. I was allowed to go straight home. I headed back, but at the front door, I noticed something was off. The key doesn't fit. The key that had worked fine in the morning now wouldn't fit the lock. I had a bad feeling. Just then, a voice called out from the second-floor balcony. What's the hurry? You look like a child who's been locked out, Tom. Don't tell me you. I won't let someone who's corrupting Ava across this threshold. There's no place for you in this house. Just leave, you incompetent. I couldn't believe it. He changed the locks while I was at work. What does Ava say about this? I asked. She doesn't want to see you. Poor thing. She must really hate living with you. Tom exaggeratedly shrugged. I called out Ava's name several times, but there was no response from inside the house. Something was clearly wrong. As I considered breaking a window to check inside, a message suddenly arrived on my phone. It was from Ava. I'm okay. Please contact me when my father is not around. The message included a phone number. Relieved that Ava was safe for now, I silently got into my car, leaving Tom laughing uproariously. I drove off. In a distant parking lot, I called the number Ava had given me. It was her family's home number. When she answered, she shared something shocking. While I was at work, Tom had ordered one of his subordinates to possibly take Ava back to her parents' house. The subordinate was a manager at the company where Tom was an executive. His repeated apologies made it clear he was someone who couldn't defy Tom. All this just to drive me out. Henry, please come to the Hadley residence today. There's a lot we need to discuss. Ava's words, laden with determination, made me nod, and I started the car. Ava's family home is the main house of the Hadley family, a distinguished family that leads some of the top businesses in America, serving as their headquarters, so to speak. The estate is correspondingly vast. It was my first visit to Ava's family home since we reported our marriage. Guided by someone who seemed to be a servant, I was directed not to the central building for receiving guests, but to the main house where the Hadley family members live. "Henry, are you all right?" Ava asked. "I'm relieved to see you. I was worried about you," I said. Ava greeted me at the entrance of the main house. Given that she had been possibly taken away, I was worried about what had happened to her. But thankfully, she seemed unharmed. "But why would Tom do something like this?" I asked. "I think he's trying to separate us. He said that a mongrel and incompetent man like me has no place in the prestigious Hadley main house. He expected that I would be turned away at the gate." I thought to myself that I had been guided here quite politely. Then, a woman came from the back. "Mongrel and incompetent? Really? Who is he to say such things?" she said. She stood straight, impeccably dressed in an elegant one-piece. I quickly greeted her. "It's been a while, Kay. I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused." "You needn't worry about that. Come in, please." Those were the welcoming words of Ava's grandmother, Kay. At 73, she showed no signs of her age. She is the current head of the Hadley family. I was led to the parlor and sat across from Kay, with Ava sitting next to me. "Earlier, you mentioned mongrel and incompetent. Who does he think he is speaking like that?" I asked with some exasperation. "Well, it's about time I tell you about Ava's stepfather, Tom," Kay began to explain. "It turns out Tom is not actually related by blood to Ava. He became part of the family through an adoption arrangement. So he is Ava's stepfather. Ava's biological father died in an accident before she was old enough to remember. Her biological mother, Mary, has always been frail and is currently recuperating in a facility. Concerned that the family line might end, the Hadley family welcomed Tom as a son-in-law when Ava was still young. At that time, Tom, a so-called energetic employee, seemed like he could lead the frail Mary and young Ava. It appears that judgment was a major mistake," Kay muttered with a heavy sigh. I looked at Ava. "Did you know about this? That Tom was your adoptive father." "This is the first I've heard of it. I only found out recently. The plan was to have a proper discussion once I came of age, but given the poor relationship I have with my father, my mother and grandmother were hesitant about when to tell me. If the rift deepened, I wouldn't know how my mental state would cope, nor what father might do next." "I see, that explains it. Perhaps Tom clings to Ava so much because he feels insecure about his position. As long as he controls Ava, he can feel like a part of the Hadley family," I said. "That's outrageous," Ava replied. Then, with a resolve in her voice, Ava said, "I can forgive my father for this. I'm not his puppet anymore. I want to make that clear to him." "Well said, Ava. You've become so strong. Maybe it's because you're with Henry," Kay said with a gentle smile. "Henry, could I ask for your help with something?" "Yes, I'll do anything I can. I want Ava to be free too," I answered firmly. Then, we began to plan our resistance against Tom. Ava was surprisingly proactive at this time. It seemed she couldn't tolerate what had been done to me any longer. Allowed to stay in the main house for a while, I called Tom the next morning with Ava by my side. This call was intended to be my final ultimatum. "Hello, Tom. This is Henry. I'm calling today because there's something important we need to discuss." "You again?" "It's useless to ask for forgiveness now. You are not suitable for Ava or the Hadley family. Know your place. Tom, your methods this time have been too rough. It's unforgivable to involve Ava like this. I'll say this only once. Apologize to Ava and change your ways." "Tom, you bastard. Are you with Ava right now?" he yelled. "Unforgivable. You good for nothing." Tom flew into a rage. He ignored my warning and continued unilaterally. "You jobless trash. Divorce my daughter. As long as you're around Ava, I'll keep tearing you away from her." His yelling was so loud that Ava heard everything clearly. I nodded at Ava. She nodded back firmly. I responded, "Understood. If you understand, then act on it. You slowpoke. Don't think you can rely on the main family. This is all your fault. You're the one to blame for everything. You pay all the alimony. You understand. I see that this is your response." "That's very disappointing, Tom," I said, ignoring his continued shouting. I hung up the phone. Ava spoke up. "Leave the rest to me. It may be too late. But are you sure you're okay with this? It doesn't seem like your style, I asked. No problem. Grandma is with me. Besides, I want to show that I've changed since meeting you, Ava said with a bright smile. The next day, as I was driving to work, I noticed a call from Tom. Ignoring it, my phone kept ringing nonstop. It was an absurd amount of calls. The Main family has probably contacted Tom to question him about this incident. He probably hadn't anticipated that his demands for our divorce would reach the Main family. The next day, he seemed quite desperate from the incessant amount of calls, but it was too late for him. I decided to block his number. Several days later, thanks to Kay's generosity, I was staying at the Hadley main house for a while. The staff was attentive, providing me with everything I could need. Still, I couldn't take their kindness for granted. That day, I headed to the office to gather necessary documents for the plan. I also needed to overcome the fact that I was temporarily unable to use my home PC. Fortunately, my home PC was locked and necessary information was saved in the cloud, so there was no worry about Tom misusing it. Having finished my tasks, I returned to the Hadley main house. Tom was standing at the entrance of the mansion, arguing with a servant. It seemed he was complaining about not being allowed on the property. When he noticed me in the car, he marched straight toward me. You? Why are you here? This is the Hadley main house. It's no place for jobless trash like you. And what are you doing here? Tom asked, his voice seething with anger. I asked him calmly, "What is it, Tom?" My calmness seemed to infuriate him. He slammed his hand on the driver's side door, ignoring my calls. And you dare to spread lies about me to the Main family? Just watch. Once you're divorced from Ava and back to being a nobody, I'll crush you easily. Now get out of here, you trash. I'm afraid I don't understand what you're saying, and I no longer need to listen to your lies, I replied, ignoring his continued rage. I drove the car onto the property as usual, and a servant courteously guided me in. Tom was taken aback. Hey, why are you letting him in so easily? If he goes through, let me through too. Move. I'm sorry, but without permission, I cannot allow you to enter, the servant said. Damn it. Why? Why is he treated better than me? Tom shouted. Even with the windows up, I could still hear him yelling as I parked the car and headed toward the main house. Kay was standing at the entrance. Welcome back, Henry. I heard the commotion. He must have tried to force his way in. Yes, I said. How is Ava doing? She seems to have made up her mind. She finally looks like she truly belongs to the Hadley family. Kay replied. That's thanks to you, Henry. I shook my head. Ava is the remarkable one. Breaking free from years of suppression is no small feat. I've just been supporting her. Since getting married, I've been so busy with work that Ava has been my support. Now it's my time to support her in pursuing what she wants to do. I gripped my briefcase tightly. Kay noticed and nodded. It seems you've managed to gather the necessary documents. Yes, here they are. Good. Today, many of the family's key members are here. That man probably came knowing this too. It's a good opportunity. Let's start with the plan we discussed. Kay instructed a servant to direct Tom to the guest building for visitors. Henry will join the family meeting as well. Is that all right? Of course. Ava has become dependable, but having you by her side will surely reassure her, Kay said with relief. I nodded firmly. A few minutes later, in the Hadley family's large reception room, Kay and other important family members lined up. Among them were executives from X Systems. I nodded silently to the executives and sat next to Ava. Tom sat alone at the lowest seat, seemingly not expecting to be brought before the Hadley family's dignitaries. Though initially blustering, now he sat silently, frequently wiping sweat from his forehead. Then Ava stood up and greeted the assembled group politely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gathering here despite your busy schedules. Today, I have something important to discuss regarding my father, Tom. Her tone was dignified and commanding. Many people here had known Ava since she was young, and they narrowed their eyes with admiration at how much stronger she had become compared to before. This showed how much she was loved by those connected to the Hadley family. Ava took a deep breath. Recently, I was coerced by Tom to divorce my husband under the pretense that a jobless trash like me shouldn't be with him. A murmur of, "Oh," was heard from one of the X Systems executives. He was aware of my work performance, and his gaze turned sharply toward Tom, causing Tom to flinch. Ava continued her accusation. I truly love my husband. He has supported me through my moments of weakness. Yet Tom tried to separate me from him and even locked us out of our home. Neither my husband nor I can return to our home right now." The looks from the dignitaries grew increasingly stern, and sweat poured down Tom's face like a waterfall. His body seemed as if it was on pins and needles. "I have lived under Tom's control for too long, and I've reached my limit. Today, I gathered you all here to share my feelings and my situation." "Wait, Ava, that's a misunderstanding. Everything is that man's fault." Tom suddenly pointed at me and raised his voice, setting up such a scene. "It must be his instigation, right? There's no way I would do something so presumptuous." "Presumptuous?" Ava murmured, and Tom fell silent. I spoke up. "Tom, these are Ava's true feelings. She has been suffering under your presence for a long time. She finally gathered the courage to express her feelings, and you dismissed them as presumptuous." "You? What do you know about Ava?" Tom shouted, grinding his teeth. Ironically, his words only highlighted to the dignitaries that he didn't understand anything about Ava. Ava no longer met Tom's gaze and addressed the assembled dignitaries politely again. "Please, everyone, I ask for your appropriate judgment on him." It was an unexpected counterattack from a doctor long constrained. The unyielding stares from those of higher status than himself made Tom completely flustered, but the real matter was yet to begin. "Let us now confirm the agenda for today." Kay, who had been silent until then, finally spoke. "About Tom Hadley. Here, could someone inform us of his contributions?" One of the executives stood up with documents in hand. "Tom is currently an external consultant for AG Trading. However, his actual contributions over the last few years are minimal. He has repeatedly used company hospitality funds under the guise of training and meetings to hop between cities. Furthermore, several managers who endured his oppressive leadership have either voluntarily resigned due to health issues or have requested demotions." The executive slapped the paper down. "From all this, his contributions to our group are virtually none, if not negative. Thank you for the clarification. Now, Tom, do you have anything to say for yourself?" "It's wrong. All of it. It's fabricated," Tom shouted. The executive, who had been accused of fabricating the report, glared at Tom. Kide, no valid counterargument. "Well then, let's make a decision for the separation of Tom from the family and his expulsion, and for placing Henry in his stead. All in favor, please raise your hands." "Huh." Tom was stunned. Truth be told, I was nearly surprised myself. The idea of me taking Tom's place was news to me. However, the dignitaries raised their hands effortlessly without hesitation. Among those present were executives from X Systems. "It's unanimous, then. I don't accept this," Tom shouted suddenly. "And to think that jobless trash is my replacement. It's absurd. He's more incompetent than I am. Whether he's incompetent or not, let's have him explain for himself," Kay said, giving me a nod. I pulled out documents from my briefcase and walked over to Tom. "Please take a look at this. These are the special sales figures for the team I lead, $60,000. The ICD service I'm involved with has been adopted by private schools in the city. Thanks to its positive reception, we've received several inquiries from clients interested in implementing the service, and sales are expected to continue growing." Tom's hands trembled as he held the documents. Kay said with a smile, $60,000 a month? That's about 10 times what you made in your heyday, Tom. And yet, you still consider Henry less capable than yourself. Do we really need an advisor who can't properly assess performance?" Tom could only grunt, his face red with anger. Kay then declared, "We will expel Tom Hadley from the family." A servant grabbed Tom's arm to lead him out of the mansion. I said to Tom, "You were a shackle on Ava. That ends today. From now on, Ava and I will live freely." Damn it. Tom was forcibly removed, leaving behind a frustrated scream. Afterward, Tom was officially divorced, and Ava's adoption was announced. Without the family's backing, he was also dismissed from his advisory role at AG Trading. Having misused his power for so long, Tom was no longer capable of holding down a job and suddenly found himself without any income. His excessive pride became his downfall. He moved out on his own and is now living a destitute life in a cheap apartment, scraping by day to day. Meanwhile, I was appointed head of the Education Support Department upon the completion of the new company building. Leveraging my expertise, I have also been promised a future advisory post at AG Trading. Ava started working as a web instructor using the system I developed. Now engaged in the education sector she had always admired, She is thriving daily. Her refined demeanor and inherent abilities quickly made her a popular instructor. Ava, who had been constrained for so long, was finally living freely. I felt increasingly proud of my work, knowing that the system I created was helping someone so important to me. One day, Ava and I were invited by Kay to visit the family home. Sitting side by side on the peaceful porch, we enjoyed some tea. In contrast to our busy lives, this relaxed moment felt like the ultimate luxury. "This ordeal must have been troublesome for you," Kay said. "Not at all. In this day and age, arranging marriages for the sake of the family may seem like an outdated notion," I replied. "Henry, if you ever feel burdened by your relationship with Ava or us, you are free to live your life as you see fit." Ava looked at me, seeing that she didn't respond to Kay's offer, and suggested she might be afraid of imposing constraints like Tom did. My response was clear. "Then I'll continue to contribute more to the family." My feelings haven't changed since the day I met Ava. I took Ava's hand. I have no regrets about marrying Ava. She is the most important woman to me, and that will never change. "Henry, I feel the same way." Ava smiled shyly as she squeezed my hand back. "Oh, you two are sweet." Kay gave a warm smile, and both of us returned the smile.